How are you doing, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Master and Drum Whiskey Room. I am Jason C, and if you're a subscriber, thanks for coming by. If it's your first time here and you're looking for the latest in whiskey and bourbon news and reviews, you have found the right channel, so think about hitting that subscribe button below and hitting that bell notification so you know when I'm putting out a new video. Today, I'm a little bit giddy because we have the bottle with probably one of the most famous names in bourbon. That's right, it is George T Stagg. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so a little bit about the man with one of the coolest names in bourbon, George T Stagg. He was born on December 19th, 1835 in Girard County, Kentucky. Working as a whiskey salesman in the 19th century and a number of successful years in the business, he got to know a great deal about the whiskey business and began to think bigger. Now, with the help of E.H. Taylor Jr., another big name in bourbon, they purchased a distillery from Harrison Blanton in 1870. They named it OFC, or after its original name, Old Fire Copper Distilling. Now, during the next 7 years, they made a number of drastic changes and improvements to it. A leading industry expert at the time declared the distillery 1+ ultra of its class, the best of the best. But by 1886, Stagg and Taylor had started falling out, and at this point, Stagg wanted to buy out his partner's share and control the distillery outright. Alright guys, so probably after a few heated discussions between E.H. Taylor Jr. and George T. Stagg, Taylor agreed, and Stagg eventually renamed the OFC to the George T. Stagg Distillery in 1904. Now, Stagg's time as a salesman aided him well as the owner of the distillery, as it became one of the world's leading bourbon producers. Now, Stagg installed a steam heating system to create the first ever climate-controlled warehouse for aging whiskey in the United States. Definitely a little bit ahead of its time. Now, the distillery held its name for almost a century until 1992 when Sazerac purchased the Stagg Distillery and renamed it the Buffalo Trace Distillery as we know today. Supposedly, it was because it was said to be built on an ancient buffalo crossing on the banks of the Kentucky River. Now, that brings us to 1999 when Sazerac introduced for the first time the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, which has become one of the most coveted whiskey collections today. Now, the first George T. Stagg release was actually in 2002, which was 15 years old and weighed in at 137.6 proof. So George T. Stagg is well known for its uncut, unfiltered, straight-from-the-barrel bourbon flavors from Buffalo Trace's Mash Bill No. 1, considered to be their low-rye mash bill, and is loved for its exceptionally high quality, but also its high proof point. Now, the 2018 version that we are reviewing today is aged 15 years and 4 months and was distilled in spring 2003 and matured in warehouses CHI, KP, and Q. This batch yielded 284 barrels, not quite as much as 2017, but significantly more than previous years. It comes in at 124.9 proof, which is the lowest proof George T. Stagg ever released. Alright guys, so as I mentioned, this is the 2018 release of George T. Stagg. Comes in at 124.9 proof or 62.45 ABV. The interesting thing is that this is the lowest proof George T. Stagg ever released. The highest one was actually in 2007, which came in at an incredible 144.8 proof. So it should be interesting to kind of see the differences. Last year it was 129.2 proof, and in 2016 it was 144.1. So some real disparity over the years of the different proof points, but let's get into this. Ooh, it's in there tight. Oh, very nice. Let's get a pour. I'm pouring a good amount of that. Oh, it is nice and dark. Awesome. All right, guys, so this is opening up a little bit. I want to thank North Babylon Wine and Spirits on Long Island. I was in New York for the holiday break, and they helped me get a bottle of this at a good price, so really appreciate it. If you live on Long Island, go check them out, North Babylon Wine and Spirits. All right, guys, so I've been swirling this around for the better part of about 8 minutes, really trying to open it up, get those alcohol notes out of there so I can pick up all the flavors I want. Before we get started, let's get into the color a little bit. It's just a beautiful, deep, dark copper, just as you would expect from George T. Stagg, an uncut, unfiltered. You know, a lot like Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, that really dark copper color, which I love to see, especially in a bourbon. It's really sticking to the glass, too. All right, I'm all set. Let's get into the nose, guys. Here we go. Oh, wow. Just, I mean, right off the bat, deep, dark brown sugar and caramel. I mean, first thing hits you right in the face. There's a really nice balance of sweet oak. Really nice, deep, toasted oak on the nose, too. It's giving already on the nose, giving a nice balance of sweet and oaky. Mm. Now, as it really starts to ramp up now on the nose here, we're getting a ton of baking spices. I'm getting a lot of cinnamon on here on the nose. A little bit of I'm getting some like chocolate covered raisins on here, almost like raisinets. Mm. I'm actually really surprised at the lack of alcohol I'm getting on the nose. I mean, I know I was swirling it around, but really not getting it too much at all. Oh, now I'm getting this beautiful apple pie with, and as I mentioned before, this note that I get with Buffalo Trace is a really beautiful toasted pecan flavor. Mm. The nose is just so ridiculously inviting. Again, I'm just surprised at how little alcohol I'm actually getting on the nose. But between the oak, the deep dark brown sugars, a lot of caramels, the baking spices, finishing off with a little bit of that apple pecan, definitely the oak bounces out. And you definitely do get a little bit of a rye kick on the end, which is surprising for, mash bill number one from Buffalo Trace being its low rye mash bill. It's supposed to be about 10% or lower. All right. I can't wait anymore. Let's go in for the sip, guys. Here we go. Cheers. Mm. Oh, that just keeps going. Whoa. Keep going. I'm talking to the bourbon now. Oh my goodness. It just keeps going and going. Oh, the flavor is just, it's all over the place. It totally just lit up my palate. Pretty crazy. But right off the bat, raisins, cherries, vanillas, a lot of caramel on there. So good. I'm going to go for the second sip because the first one just literally just blew my palate up a little bit here. All right, second sip. Here we go. Oh, wow. Wow, that is just, everything is just so deep and dark and concentrated. But I'm very surprised, just like on the nose, I'm surprised at how easy this is to drink. But it's still very pleasing, and the flavors that are coming through are amazing. Like I said, raisins, a lot of cherry on here for me. That fruitiness, that apple flavor that I was getting on the nose with the toasted pecans, definitely translating to the palate as well. It's just like everything is just kind of toasted and baked in the oven or on the stove, and it's just cooked down. It's just so deep, dark, and concentrated. Absolutely delicious, the first two sips. Now that my palate's kind of getting used to it, let's go in for the third sip here. Cheers. Yeah, it's just really staying with those flavors. The raisins, cherries, the vanilla, the brown sugar, even that apple pie dusted with pecans. It's really not going anywhere. And then right on the end, you're getting a really nice kick of oak. Probably more oak than I've had definitely more oak than last year's, I think. Now, I only had a sample of last year's George T Stagg. I actually tasted it on one of my live streams, and it was definitely sweeter to me. This one has much more of a balance to me of oakiness and those sweet flavors. Now, I like a lot of oak, but some people don't. Not too much oak, but enough to just balance out that sweetness. This is really doing that in an exceptional way. It's really good. All right, last sip, guys. Here we go. Cheers. Okay, yeah, it's just bursting with flavor. But what I'm noticing here is on that last sip I just took, now the oak is kind of taking over a little bit. It's becoming a little bit more oaky as you sip on it. Maybe as your palate gets used to those sweeter flavors. Really, really good, but you're still getting the raisins, the cherries, the vanilla, the deep, dark caramels, a little bit of that apple flavor. Definitely getting some of that toasted pecan, that nuttiness there, kind of as it works its way towards the back of the palate. But the finish now with that little bit of rye spice, Still those caramels wrapped up with the brown sugars and kind of rounded out with some deep dark oak flavors. It's really super delicious. I mean, what can I say? It's George T Stagg. Alright guys, so while it is the lowest proof George T Stagg ever, this bottle really allows the Buffalo Trace sweet flavor profiles really to come through without a huge alcohol burn. I mean, you do get it, but it's definitely not nearly as prominent as it's been in years past. Now, if a mega high proof George T Stagg is what you're looking for, this is probably not the year for you. But with that said, it really allows you to find some amazing and rich flavors without too much heat. One thing I will say is that the 2018 bottle to me has a definite more oak kick to it than 2017 did. I was fortunate enough to get a sample of 2017's George T Stagg, and it was definitely a lot sweeter on the palate. 2018 to me has way more of an oak kick to it, a little bit more of a rye spice, and definitely, to me, offers a little bit more balance, which I really love. Alright guys, so in conclusion, if this bourbon could be purchased for its recommended retail price around $100, it would be the finest daily sipper known to man. But based on the availability and high quality of other bourbons in that price range, I don't know that I could feel comfortable recommending for you to run out and pay inflated retail or secondary prices for this, with so many incredible bourbons available in today's market. Now, if you are lucky enough to buy this bottle at retail, then definitely buy it on site. But for most bourbon hunters that won't be able to see a bottle of this, especially at retail, bottles like Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, Booker's, Wild Turkey Rare Breed, Knob Creek Single Barrel, and even Stagg Jr. can offer amazing, high-proof sipping experiences for a fraction of the secondary price of George T Stagg. Alright guys, well thanks again for watching the Mash and Drum Whiskey Room. Hope you enjoyed this episode featuring 2018 George T Stagg from the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. I sure did. If you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. If you haven't yet, please find me on Instagram and also find me on Twitter. Let me know down in the comments or on Twitter or on Instagram if you've had this one. How does it compare to other years? What you overall think about George T Stagg? And with that said, it is not about the whiskey, it is the people you share it with. So cheers everyone, and I will see you next time.